They wouldn't have him playing at this well at this age.
He's unbelievable.
He's unbelievable. So, and he showed us in the Olympics, he's the best player in the world, and so, he can play however long he wants to play. He has to decide. That's for him to decide. And we're here.
Taken by LeBron, skipping into the front court. A dozen points to lead. LBJ played a good game. Now to the far side, Marcus Smart, all LeBron ceiling super well. 47.
The ground beneath the Los Angeles Lakers has just fractured. After years of tension, cold wars, and public power struggles, LeBron James has made a decision so shocking, so definitive, that it has sent a tremor through the entire NBA. This isn't a trade request. It's not a free agency tease. It's a move that redefines the relationship between a superstar and a franchise forever. And in response, Lakers owner Jeanie Buss has not just reacted, she has snapped. The delicate detente is over. The gloves are off. This is the story of the decision that broke the Lakers and the owner's furious, unprecedented response. The news did not leak through the usual channels. There was no strategic whisper to a trusted reporter, no cryptic social media post from Clutch Sports. It arrived instead in the form of a formal, legal document delivered by courier to the offices of the Los Angeles Lakers at 9 a.m. on a Tuesday morning. It was not a trade request. It was a notice of opt-out and intent to explore free agency. On the surface, in the transactional language of the NBA, it was a routine business move. LeBron James was declining his $51.4 million player option for the final year of his contract. But in the context of his career, his relationship with the Lakers, and the endless will he or won't he drama that had surrounded his future, it was a thunderclap. For the first time since 2018, LeBron James was an unrestricted free agent, and for the first time ever, he was hitting the open market while still demonstrably being one of the top 5 players in the world. But the shockwave wasn't the opt-out itself, it was the attached personal addendum, a letter signed by LeBron and his business manager Maverick Carter, addressed directly to Jeanie Buss and general manager Rob Pelinka. According to sources who have seen the document, the letter was a masterpiece of corporate clarity and personal defiance. It thanked the organization for the partnership, acknowledged the 2020 championship, and then laid out in bullet-point precision the reasons for the decision. It cited a misalignment in competitive timelines, a fractured basketball operation structure, and a recent environment not conducive to competing for a championship at the highest level. It was a cold, clinical performance review of the Lakers franchise delivered by its best employee on his way out the door. Most devastatingly, it contained a single, unambiguous line that severed the emotional tether. At this stage of my career, I must prioritize an environment of unified vision and operational excellence above all else. The message was clear. The Lakers, in LeBron's professional judgment, lacked that vision and excellence. He was not leaving for more money. He could have gotten that in Los Angeles. He was not leaving for a bigger market. He was leaving because he believed the Lakers' front office was incompetent at building a winner around him. He was firing them. The decision of 2010 was a television spectacle about taking his talents. This decision was a private, damning indictment of an entire organization's ability to use those talents properly. The king wasn't just leaving his kingdom, he was publishing a detailed audit on why the kingdom was failing. The Lakers' front office, upon reading it, reportedly sat in stunned, silent horror. The power had not just shifted, it had been weaponized against them.
So I think what I'm saying is, if LeBron is on the Lakers, you are not building towards the future, at least for 1 year.
No, you're not. He's the exact opposite definition of the future. He is the present and the present alone. And this is where I keep coming back, listening to Shams talk about it. I don't think that I've done a good enough job of saying this enough today. The decision...
I do like chilling on the beach. Like I said, it's a cool bar. I go chill on the beach and play, hit the water, drink something like that. But either, yes.
For Jeanie Buss, the couriered package was not just a business development. It was the ultimate act of betrayal, a personal and professional insult delivered in triplicate. The cold, legal language of the opt-out was one thing. The attached letter, a calculated demolition of her leadership and her family's legacy, was another. But to have it arrive like a subpoena, without a prior phone call, without a meeting, without the courtesy of a private conversation between the principals, that was the final, unforgivable breach of a relationship she still fundamentally believed was a partnership. Her reaction was not the quiet, steely resolve of past conflicts. This time, she snapped. The carefully maintained veneer of the graceful Lakers steward owner evaporated. According to multiple sources present at the Lakers' executive offices, her response was immediate, volcanic, and shockingly public within the confines of the organization. She did not call Rob Pelinka first. She summoned the entire basketball operations staff, scouts, assistant GMs, strategists, into the main conference room on the same morning the letter arrived. The document was placed on the table in the center of the room. Her tone, witnesses describe, was not one of sadness, but of white-hot, controlled fury. "This," she stated, pointing at the letter, "is what a lack of loyalty looks like. This is what happens when this organization, my family's organization, is treated as a rental car for someone else's legacy tour." She rejected the letter's critiques outright, framing them not as valid concerns, but as the excuses of a superstar who wanted full control and was now throwing a temper tantrum because he didn't get to personally select every player and coach. Then she made a declaration that would ripple through the league. "We are not begging. The Los Angeles Lakers do not beg. We built this. My father built this. We survived before him, and we will not only survive after him, we will thrive. We will not be held hostage by anyone's timeline. Our timeline is forever." With that, she authorized an immediate and unprecedented strategic leak. Within the hour, reports from high-ranking Lakers sources flooded the media. The narrative was brutal and personal. LeBron's camp had made outlandish and unfeasible demands for roster control. His decision was a premeditated power play that backfired. The Lakers were relieved to be free from the constant drama and shadow governance of the James ecosystem. The leaks deliberately painted LeBron not as a frustrated champion, but as a delusional manipulator whose demands were impossible to meet. Jeanie Buss was not just defending her franchise, she was launching a preemptive character assassination on the way out the door. The private war was now a scorched-earth public battle. The owner had not just responded, she had declared all-out war, betting the future of the Lakers brand on her ability to win the narrative that LeBron James was the problem, not the prize.
Like LeBron James on your team, you got to go for it. You got to use that opportunity to win. So, we'll manage the cap just like every other team in the league has to do. We play by the same rules.
Got to ask you, how much time left do you think LeBron James has? I mean, he looks like it's endless. It looks like he can keep on going and going and going, like a Duracell battery, for crying out loud. I got to ask you, have you received any kind of indication where it's just going to be a couple of years? He just...
Yeah, good play by the Don. Picks up another assist. Then we have a whistle at the other end.
Looks like they're going to catch LeBron on the foul.
The simultaneous detonation of LeBron's clinical opt-out and Jeanie Buss's ferocious counterattack did not create two sides within the Lakers organization. It shattered it into a dozen panicked, conflicting shards, exposing fault lines that rendered the franchise instantly and utterly paralyzed. Within the locker room, a mass panic ensued. Veterans on short-term deals who had come specifically to play with LeBron and chase a ring saw their entire purpose evaporate. Their agents' phones lit up with calls not from the Lakers front office, but from rival teams, smelling blood and opportunity. Key role players now faced a nightmare: stay with a rudderless post-LeBron Lakers team, likely entering a punitive rebuild, or demand a trade to a contender, further depleting the assets needed for any rebuild. The roster, meticulously, if imperfectly, constructed to complement one astronomical star, was now a collection of mismatched parts with no engine. Rob Pelinka's position became completely untenable. He was the architect of the roster now being called incompetent by LeBron and defended with chaotic fury by his boss. Senior basketball operations staff, who had privately shared some of LeBron's frustrations about resource allocation and scouting, now found themselves publicly forced to toe the owner's "we're better off" line, or risk their jobs. A climate of fear and CYA cover-your-ass memo writing descended. No one would make a proactive move for fear it would be the wrong one and lead to blame in the impending post-LeBron fallout. The head coaching seat, already a precarious hot seat, became a symbolic void. Any potential candidate, from experienced veterans to rising stars, now had to ask, am I walking into a coherent rebuild with patient ownership, or into a dysfunctional circus where the owner just went to war with the greatest player of the generation? The Lakers' coaching search went from a coveted job to a professional hazard overnight. The mandate was unclear. Were they supposed to develop young talent for a 5-year plan Jeanie Buss claimed to have? Or were they supposed to win immediately to prove her thrive statement, but without the top 5 player who made winning possible? The initial split among fans hardened into irreconcilable militancy. One side rallied behind the owner's "we don't beg" stance, viewing LeBron's exit as a necessary, painful cleansing of a mercenary culture. The other side saw the owner's reaction as a catastrophic, pride-fueled business blunder that doomed the franchise to a decade of irrelevance. Social media wasn't just a debate forum, it was a digital war zone, with each camp aggressively targeting the other's loyalty and intelligence. The unified Lakers nation was a myth. The franchise was no longer a basketball team, it was a geopolitical entity in the throes of a violent, uncivil civil war, with every constituent part, players, executives, coaches, and fans, retreating to their own terrified, fortified corners.
Great things, and you know, it's the Lakers have that ability. It's a platform that's bigger than any one owner, any one player, any one coach. It belongs to Laker Nation. Laker Nation is, the heartbeat of the Lakers and what it stands for. They'll be around a lot longer than I'll be around. And,
LeBron James should have won 4 more NBA MVPs.
4?
4.
Let's hear them.
The first one is the 2005 MVP, which was
Steve Nash.
Steve Nash. He averaged 15.5.
To the public and the panicking Lakers, LeBron James's decision appeared to be an emotional rupture, a final furious breaking point. But within his inner circle, sources indicate the move was anything but impulsive. It was the culmination of a cold, meticulous, year-long calculus, a strategic detonation timed for maximum impact and personal leverage. This wasn't a tantrum. It was a corporate takeover strategy played in reverse, a brilliant and ruthless exit plan. The first pillar of the calculus was timing. LeBron and his advisors understood that his value as a free agent was not just in his on-court production, but in his ability to instantly legitimize a franchise's entire project. By opting out now, he hit the market at the precise moment several ambitious, well-run franchises, teams with young talent, assets, and stable management, had either cap space or the means to create it. He was not just offering himself as a player, he was offering himself as a completion piece and a global accelerant to a pre-existing functional engine. The contrast with the Lakers' operational excellence critique was intentional and glaring. The second pillar was narrative control. The attached letter was not an emotional screed, it was a preemptive legal and PR document. By formally citing fractured operations and a non-conducive environment, LeBron was constructing a defensible, business-like rationale for his departure. He knew the Lakers would retaliate with leaks painting him as power-hungry. His letter provided the counter-narrative. He was a principled executive, in player form, leaving a poorly run company. It framed the coming smear campaign as predictable retaliation from the very dysfunction he was escaping. The third and most devastating pillar was the creation of an impossible choice for Jeanie Buss. The calculus predicted her reaction almost perfectly. By making the break so clean, so formal, and so critical, he backed her into a corner where any attempt to negotiate or plead would look like the begging she vowed not to do. His move forced her to either swallow her pride and enter a humiliating bidding war for her own star, or to embrace the proud franchise stance and let him walk, thereby accepting a future of immense basketball and financial pain. He made her choose between her personal authority and the franchise's immediate well-being. Her furious public snap was, in the view of his camp, the most predictable and optimal outcome. It proved his point about the organization's instability and freed him from any lingering moral obligation. The king did not just leave his throne. He meticulously arranged for the palace to burn behind him, ensuring history would record not his abandonment, but his reasoned evacuation from a sinking ship. The shock was not in the decision, but in the brutal, chess-like precision with which it was executed.
IST. The first IST. And I will say, atmosphere was pretty good.
Really?
Felt special.
Well, when that game came on, I was back home in Pasadena after having traveled to New York with the Lakers' other team that they don't like a whole lot, the Clippers.
Yes, they're on the list.
And so I did watch it.
With the shot clock running down, a 20-point lead, and less than 20 seconds left, the Pistons tried to pass the ball to the Lakers to avoid a shot clock violation and end the game quicker, but it was too funny how Bronny still.
The shockwaves from Los Angeles did not remain contained to the Pacific coastline. They triggered a league-wide seismic event, sending frantic tremors through front offices from Miami to New York to the Bay Area. The sudden, unexpected availability of LeBron James, not as a disgruntled trade target, but as a free agent CEO ready to choose his next board of directors, instantly obliterated every existing offseason plan and created a frantic, high-stakes auction for the most valuable short-term asset in sports history. The immediate contenders, a handful of teams with cap space, young talent, and stable management, shifted into emergency operations mode. The Philadelphia 76ers, with Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey, could suddenly envision a closing window being smashed wide open. The New York Knicks, with a treasure chest of assets and a burgeoning Jalen Brunson-led identity, saw a chance to accelerate their timeline from promising to punishing overnight. The Miami Heat, with Pat Riley's relentless culture and a proven track record of building around LeBron, instantly became a sentimental and strategic favorite. Even the Golden State Warriors, a dynasty in its twilight, reportedly explored the logistical fantasy of LeBron joining forces with Stephen Curry for a final galactic super team. The league's balance of power, which had seemed cautiously predictable, was now a volatile roulette wheel. The domino effect. LeBron's decision created an instant logjam for every other star or aspiring star on the market. Free agents and their agents hit pause. Why sign with Team X today if Team X might land LeBron tomorrow and need to clear space, rendering your deal obsolete? Potential trade targets saw their value fluctuate wildly as teams previously out of the running suddenly became potential landing spots, needing different pieces to entice the king. The entire transactional engine of the NBA ground to a halt, waiting for the one decision that would reset the board for everyone else. The birth of a new narrative. Most significantly, LeBron's exit from the Lakers drama provided him with a pristine opportunity for a legacy-capping final act. No longer would he be battling internal politics and shadowy power struggles. His next chapter would be framed as a conscious, strategic choice to join a competent, harmonious operation purely for the love of competition and the pursuit of one more ring, unimpeded. This was the ultimate rebranding. He could transform from the embattled Lakers king into the wise veteran mercenary, the final piece who chooses the perfect puzzle. In leaving the dysfunction behind, he wasn't just changing teams, he was authoring a powerful new narrative of focused twilight greatness. The league wasn't just scrambling to acquire a player, they were competing for the right to host the final, glorious chapter of the LeBron James story, a chapter he had now ensured would be defined by winning, not warring. The Lakers were left with the ashes of a civil war, while the rest of the league raced to build him a new, more stable throne.
Why? What makes you excited about this year's Laker team?
Well, I think, you start with the coach, Darvin Ham, who, was in his first season as a head coach last year and, didn't get the opportunity to have a full
As the rest of the league scrambles for a future with LeBron James, Los Angeles is left to survey the wreckage of a present without him. The aftermath is not merely a basketball rebuild, it is a complex, multi-layered crisis of identity, value, and purpose that will define the Lakers for the next decade. The immediate economic impact is catastrophic. LeBron James wasn't just a player, he was a one-man economic stimulus package. Premium suite sales, national television slots, and global merchandise revenue, all tied directly to his presence, face a devastating cliff. The franchise's astronomical valuation, supercharged by his star power, will confront a harsh market correction. The owner's principled stand will be stress-tested by financial statements bleeding nine-figure losses, a brutal reality check for a business built on glamour and wins. On the court, the path forward is shrouded in fog. The roster is a collection of complementary parts with no star to complement. Anthony Davis, a transcendent talent when healthy, now becomes the focal point of a team with diminished spacing, playmaking, and overall offensive gravity. His injury history and the increased defensive focus he will face make building a contender around him a monumental, perhaps impossible task without another elite perimeter creator. The Lakers possess few attractive trade assets and likely future draft picks, having mortgaged them in the win-now window that just slams shut. They are staring into the abyss of NBA purgatory, not bad enough to secure a top draft pick in a loaded class, not good enough to compete for anything meaningful. Most critically, the brand is permanently scarred. The Lakers' pitch for half a century was a powerful duality, the legacy of winners and the glamour of Hollywood. Stars came to build their legacy within the most storied franchise. LeBron's exit and the publicly toxic manner of its dissolution corrupts that pitch. The legacy side is now tarnished by a very public story of dysfunction and ingratitude. The glamour is exposed as conditional, dependent on subsuming one's own power to the existing hierarchy. The Lakers are no longer a destination, they are a cautionary tale. What top 5 player in their prime will look at the treatment of LeBron James, the greatest player of the era, and think, yes, that's where I want to spend my peak years? The damage is generational. The Lakers aren't just losing a player, they are losing their magnetic pull, becoming just another team with nice weather and a pretty floor, fighting for the attention of stars who now have safer, smarter, more stable options elsewhere. In the end, LeBron James's shock decision was more than a career move. It was a historical verdict. Jeanie Buss chose the institution over the individual, a defensible long-term principle, but in doing so, she may have inadvertently sacrificed the institution's very soul, its ability to attract and harness greatness on the altar of that principle. She won the battle of authority, but is poised to lose the war for relevance. LeBron James chose operational sanity over sentimental loyalty, a coldly rational business decision. He escapes a corrosive environment to write a final chapter on his own terms, but his Lakers legacy, once poised to be a story of heroic restoration, is now permanently complicated by a bitter, acrimonious divorce. The true legacy of this saga is the stark lesson it provides. In the modern NBA, there are no immortal institutions, only temporary alliances between great players and the brands that hope to contain them. The Lakers believed they could outlast a king. The king simply proved that on his way out, he could redefine the kingdom itself, leaving behind not just an empty throne, but a blueprint for its own obsolescence. The final question isn't who won, it's this: can a palace once abandoned by a king ever be anything more than a very well-decorated museum? The next era begins now. Subscribe to witness the fallout.